Hello everyone, I'm Nupur Chawla, teaching English literature at Maitri College, Delhi University, and I welcome you all to the online lectures of CEC UGC. In this lecture series, we will discuss different topics, different ideas associated with the study of literature in the universities. But today, in particular, we will discuss the topic Indian English literature. Now, this group of writings involves, of course, different genres, including poetry, drama, fiction. But today we are particularly going to focus on the development or the evolution of this group of writings. So if we look at it historically, this group of writings came into being around the end of the 18th century or the early 19th century. Now that is the time when these writings started to be written. But it's very interesting for us to understand what led to this kind of writing to come into being, right? Now, before we go on to discuss the conditions which gave rise to Indian English literature, we will first of all look at what exactly does the term mean, or how is it defined in the academic circles. So M.K. Naik, who's a critic, he mentions Indian English literature as defined as literature originally written in English by the authors who are Indian by birth, ancestry, or nationality. Now, what is important over here is the fact that these writers are Indian by birth, but they are writing in a language which is, of course, different or foreign, right? So one of the crucial aspects of this kind of writing is that we see Indian sensibility or Indian ethos communicated or represented in writings which are in a language which is not Indian, right? So this is the central feature, so to say, of this group of writings. Now, the second thing that we also need to remember when we define the term also is the fact that how Indian English literature forms a part of the larger rubric of Indian literature, right? Now, a lot of times students get confused that between these three categories which are very, very distinct. Foremost is Indian literature, next is Indian English literature, and third, of course, is Indian literature in translation. So all these three types of writing differ, okay, and we need to be able to acknowledge and understand that how is each different from the other. So if I look at Indian literature, now all the writings which are written in native Indian languages, or as they call it, the vernacular, come under the topic of, or come under the group of Indian literature. Alternately, Indian English literature, as I just now told you, is written by authors who are Indian by origin, however they are writing in English, okay? So the language of composition for Indian English literature is English, while the language of composition, or the originally in which the author wrote, that language is an Indian language or a vernacular. And the third category, which is Indian literature in translation, itself clarifies that writings which were originally written in a vernacular but then are also available in translation. So the translated versions of the Indian literature then comprise this body of writings called Indian literature in translations, right? Now, while we talk about these three categories, one more question arises. We are aware that a lot of writers who wrote in the Indian languages or the different vernaculars were either bilingual, which means what? That they wrote not just in the language of the particular region that they belong to, but at the same time they also knew English, and they self-translated their works, right? And the foremost writer who comes to mind while talking about such writing or such an author is of course Rabindranath Tagore. Now he wrote in Bengali, while at the same time he self-translated his own works into English, right? Now Gitanjali is one such work that he himself translated in English, right? And after writing it in Bengali. So now what category will such writings fall under? Now these writings also are considered under the rubric of Indian English literature itself. Okay, so broadly stating, that's how we understand the term, that's how we place it in the context of the language and in context of the other variations of the term Indian English literature that exists. Now next what we come to is the development of this body of writing. As I said, that it came into being around the late 18th and the early 19th century. So for the ease of understanding, we will look at this development of Indian English literature in the pre-independence times in two phases. So dividing the pre-independence time in two phases of evolution of this particular style of writing. So the first phase is or comprises the decades 1830 to roughly around 1900, right? Now this was a time when there was or when India witnessed a particularly significant intellectual and creative impulse, and also at the same time there was an increasing interest in modern education and social reform, right? Now with these ethos becoming at the center of this of the times, it is also important for us to understand that where were these values coming from, right? So we can largely say that there were two precursors of this kind of values that were prevalent in society. The foremost was the fact that Christian missionaries had set up various printing presses across the country at that time. Now, what happens with the setting up of the printing press? Of course, most obviously, books are available to the people for reading. And once they read these books, what happens is that they are acquainted with new ideas, their thought process is widened. We are no longer limited by just the traditional ideals or the received knowledge that we have had so far. So with the setting up of these printing presses by the Christian missionaries, this gave some kind of a fillip to this interest in education, also making it available, making the resources of study available way more than they were before, right? So that's the first important precursor to this kind of the creative intellectual impulse that we noticed in India in the span between 1830s and 1900s, right? And the second important thing also, a second important feature which also kind of contributed or gave rise to this kind of an impulse was the practice of the Orientalists Now, who were the Orientalists? The Orientalists were scholars who were particularly interested in literature or written in the Indian languages, right? Now, the Orientalists, and most of the Orientalists were the Britishers, right? So now these set of people, they undertook the study and translation of various classical Indian texts, not just classical, but also various texts written in native languages. In fact, this kind of an interest also led to a revival of the ideas which were part of the repository of the Indian thought, so to say, right? So the printing presses and the revival of various Indian texts by the Orientalists were then one of the few precursors to this kind of awakening, which was characterized by an interest in modern thought, an interest in creative and intellectual procedures, right? So now this is something which was at the center of these decades, right? Now, apart from this, along with the Orientalists and the printing presses set up by the missionaries, another important feature of this particular span of years is the movement commonly referred to as the Bengal Renaissance. So Bengal Renaissance was a movement which was at the center of this kind of an awakening that we have talked about so far. A revival in intellectual thought, creative impulse, and also this kind of an interest in social reform. So Bengal Renaissance was actually a movement which characterized all these values. So while on the one hand there was questioning of traditionalism, orthodoxy, caste system, and all those practices which were against the individual, on the other hand, these ideas were then questioned or re-examined by means of the reform movements, formal reform movements that had come into being at this time. And while talking of reform, what comes to mind is Brahmo Samaj. Now, Brahmo Samaj was founded by Raja Ram Mohan Roy, and it looked at reforming Hinduism. So one of the things, one of the thoughts of this movement was that they talked about monotheistic religion, right? So likewise, we saw a lot of re-examination of the existing ideals and thoughts which did take place in the span of these decades, 1830 to 1900s. So what we have so far looked at is the social landscape which led or against which this kind of writing came into being, right? So the backdrop against which Indian English literature came into being was associated with such liberal ideas as well as modern education. So next, what we look at is the literary scene or the literary landscape through these decades. So one of the foremost thing that comes to mind while we talk about literature is that after 1857, the Indian Mutiny, there was a sudden outburst of literature. This literature was particularly written in Bengali, but these writers were also bilingual. So some of these writers wrote both in Bengali as well as English, and we saw that these writings flourished soon after 1857. So some of the early prose writers of Indian English literature were Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. In fact, one of the books written by Chatterjee called Rajmohan's Wife, which was published in 1864, is considered by many to be one of the first Indian English novels. Likewise, some of the early Indian English poets who came on the scene around this time were Henry Louis Desrosiers, Madhusudan Dutt, then we also had Toru Dutt. So these were the poets who were writing in English and expressing their thought by means of poetry in a language that was, of course, English. Okay, now the next thing that we look at are what kind of themes predominated at this time. So there was a decisive shift seen in the subjects that these authors and poets were taking up. So while initially there was, a focus on kings and queens and the upper sections of society figured in the novels or in the creative expressions, but now there was a focus on common experience or the experience and sensibility of common man. So this kind of a democratic impulse was then seen in the early writings which emerged around this time. Now, the third important thing which we need to understand vis-a-vis the literary development around this time also is the fact that how the writers who were writing were educated in Western thought. As discussed before, that modern education, liberal thought, and this kind of an intellectual awakening which characterized the times then produced a class of individuals who were acquainted with these ideas, and these very individuals then started to write in English and express their ideas. So and one of the decisive influences of these authors were the British Romantics. Now, what does that tell us? Most obviously, this acquaints us with the kind of ideas or the kind of subjects that these poets and authors would write about. So, ideas of freedom, courage, liberty, and some kind of rationalistic humanism began to define their works, right? So broadly, that's what comprised the literary landscape as we see around this time. Now next, what we also need to look at are certain landmarks of this early phase of development of the Indian English literature. Now what were these landmarks? The foremost was the founding of Hindu College in Calcutta in 1817. So what this of course did was that it led to it produced a certain class of people who were Western educated in liberal thought, and then these were the people who would then lead the social and intellectual changes in Indian society. And as we just now saw that how various authors who were writing in Indian English were then those who were acquainted with Western education. So Hindu College, set up in 1817 in Calcutta, was one of the defining moments in development of this kind of writing. Now the second and very important development was the setting up of the first 3 universities in India in 1857. So these were the universities of Mumbai, Madras and Calcutta. So like we notice that these institutions what do they highlight? They very clearly point out the ethos of the times, the ethos of the times, which clearly gravitated towards an interest in education, modern thought, and also expression of those ideas in a particular language, which included not just the Indian vernacular, but as well as English. So, with these points in mind, we very clearly understand what was the character of early works of Indian English literature and what kind of conditions in the Indian society led to a development of these kind of writings. So, in the next part of the lecture, we will look at a seminal document which was another landmark of in the development of this group of writings. That was the very famous speech made by Macaulay in 1835, and from there we will transition to a discussion of the second phase of development of this particular group of writings, which was 1900 to 1945. And with that, we will conclude our discussion on the evolution of Indian English literature in the pre-independence phase. Thank you.